Good morning, everyone. I'm getting my coffee ready. You probably have already looked at the previous video on the philosophical slants between authoritarian and authoritarian, or what I had titled traditional versus constructivist lessons. This particular slideshow, and it'll be rather brief but very important. It is about big ideas and what big ideas are in science classrooms. And so you're going to be looking at, using the big ideas to develop some lessons and rationales for addressing uh, different students. So hopefully this slideshow will help you with that. Uh, the first thing about why big ideas, and I kind of have mentioned earlier, between traditional and constructivist uh, classrooms, is that students are different now. My wife and I talk about this all the time. How our children and our grandchildren are completely different in terms of how it is that they learn or what it is that they are interested in. Children today like things that pop out at them, that are continuously entertaining. And children don't find science interesting or relevant to them, especially when they're taught with more traditional methods. Because science is often taught as disconnected facts. And as you learned in the previous slide presentation, traditional classrooms start with the parts and go to the whole, whereas more constructivist classrooms start with a whole and work toward the various facts, and this kind of helps students work within a system to help students uh, get interested and develop and sustain their curiosity. I have a grandson, and if you look at my Facebook posts, I mean, he is science focused all the time, and pretty much it's because he says, "Grandpa, I want to go catch butterflies," or "Grandpa, let's get a lizard and let's look at it." So children, work on that, but I'm not going to, as a 4-year old, tell them all about the difference between biotic and abiotic, or between the difference between dicots and monocots, or have him tell me, although I think he could, tell me which are reptiles and which are amphibians. Uh, but but he's interested, and he's interested because he likes the hands-on activities, and students are the same. They want to learn about things that are interesting. Um, I'm taking some of this information from Harlan. Uh, the idea in the United Kingdom of principles and big ideas in science education. I'm not sure exactly if you'll be able to get to the link here, but I'll provide it later on. But what I've done basically is taking abstracts of that and put them in this particular slideshow. One of the things that they basically talk about is there's different types of big ideas, and I'm going to go over them right now. There are big ideas uh, about science. I should have, I think, I did not remove the word in on the first one, but if you all can correct that, it's big ideas about science and then big ideas in science. And so let me try to get that worked on, uh, get those two separated out in the next few slides. Let's look at the big ideas about science. These ideas are are very important to us, and one of them is for every effect in science, there's one or more causes. Things don't just happen by themselves. There are, uh, cause and effect relationships, and that's something that students need to look at. Really, even some adults, especially those that believe in superstitions, there's a reason for everything. Scientific explanations, theories, and models are those that best fit the facts known at a particular time. Science is constantly evolving. It's not the same. In other words, what we learned about, when we were going through school, has changed quite a bit, and we classify things differently. I mean, there were two kingdoms when I went to and took biology in high school, but when I took biology too at the end of high school, there were three kingdoms, and more coming. When I got to college, there were five kingdoms, and then later on, the names changed, and the reasons for those changes became more relevant. Um, and so these ideas are this big idea about the changing nature of science is something that we need to understand. Also, the knowledge produced by science is used in some technologies to create products that serve human ends. Whatever it is that we learn is to help us have better lives. And applications of science often have ethical, social, economic, and political implications. I know we would like to have cures for a lot of diseases, but unfortunately, we can't experiment with humans. It's just not something that we work on some areas, and in some areas of science, and especially in medicine, and we all know that. And so we have these barriers uh, there for a very good reason, because we're a people and we have a conscience. So those are kind of the big ideas about science. Now, big ideas in science is a little more complex, and these are more content oriented. So what I'm going to do is basically, just look at these, and I'll read them because it's a great big list. There's a list. This is the part one, the first five, and then I'll do the next five in a little bit. But just listen to what it is that they have in terms of big ideas. All material in the universe is made of very small particles. Objects can affect other objects at a distance. Changing the movement of an object requires a net force to be acting on it. The total amount of energy in the universe is always the same, but energy can be transformed when things change or are made to happen. The composition of the earth and its atmosphere and the process occurring with them shape the earth's surface and its climate. So just think about those particular five as you go through that, and I'm sure that as I was reading them, you thought, "Oh, there's inertia, there's gravity, there's a conservation of matter and energy, and climate change." Those right there are the first five. Here's the next five. The solar system is a very small part of one of millions of galaxies in the universe. Organisms are organized on a cellular basis. Organisms require a supply of energy and materials for which they are often dependent on or in competition with other organisms. Genetic information is passed down from one generation of organisms to another. The diversity of organisms, living and extinct, is the result of evolution. These now are some other things that come to mind. So, obviously, cell theory, predator prey relationships, and heredity are all included there. And of course, the first one, the expanseness, if that's the correct word, of the universe. Something that we're a very small part of. Um, Here's something to think about. How big should big ideas be? And this is because as humans, we can classify big ideas and broaden them or make them narrower. And there's a danger going each way. You broaden them too much, and then we leave out all of the parts that would help us rationalize a big idea, or we make it so small that we don't know where it's connected in the world. Um, but what's important is that big ideas are defined as ideas that can be used to explain and make predictions about a range of related phenomena in the natural world. And we basically decide what that range is. Another good way of thinking about it is that big ideas should be big enough to support an understanding of science concepts for the non scientist. Uh, not everyone's going to be a scientist. And even though many of us have an affinity for science, some of you are elementary teachers, and science is just one of those subjects that's being taught. But the big idea has to be big enough to support not only you in terms of the knowledge that you have, but in the next one, it can become so enormous that it makes no sense to an individual, especially a youngster. As I mentioned about my grandson, right? You can only do some things or teach certain things that are within their grasp, and that's one of the projects that you're going to be working on in this particular unit or week to make sense of what is it, what big ideas do you teach children at different grade levels. And of course, I provided some examples in the Earthlinks section so that you can look at what would be a good activity for elementary, middle school, and high school. And the other thing is, and this is a very important one, is big ideas should be used to make decisions in everyday life for the individual as they're at it should be at their stage of development. And so you have to keep that in mind as you work with your students and later on with your mentees. Now, remember, big ideas. If you think about subject, there's only a limited time. You cannot spend a whole lot of time talking about uh, the big expanses of ideas by subject. And so is what we need to look at is that we're going to be focusing in on general ideas by grade level, only because we don't have the time to look at all the big ideas. So what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on earth science, and you'll focus on the Earth Science Week links that are going to take those big ideas and put them by grade level. And then eventually you're going to create your concept of the big ideas. If you have any questions, just send them over to me, and we'll discuss them. But I would really rather that you all talk about the big ideas with your peers. Okay, so that's something that you want to do.